Without hesitation, the rain commenced, battering Bastard's blueberry gel-locked coif as soon as he stepped out onto the wet sod street. He'd forgotten his lid in the crib, but it was too late to turn back. His hair was already soaking blue. Upon crossing the walk to the next block, he perceived a sensation of being followed. I looked around, and, indeed, there was an enormously tall, light-skinned man trailing our tails. He had very short legs and inconspicuous orange sheepskin sequined jumpsuit clothing. He maintained half a block distance the entire way to the castle, shuffling his stumps hurriedly for each one Bastard stepped. Pavement turned to brick, brick to cobblestone, stone to rocks, pebbles to dirt, and then into grass as Bastard reached the top of the mount where a huge flat step of beautiful lush green weeds surrounded a driveway which surrounded a moat which encased another driveway that encircled the castle. A giant skyscraper of a building. A cross between a medieval stronghold and a modern luxury condominium. Bastard traversed the moat by canoe and the rest by his own 2 feet, using his hands only to open the gate to the entrance to the castle. The sound of horse hooves and the proletariat chatting and fussing and hawking their wares played on the loudspeakers beneath the bushes that surrounded the steps leading up to the front door. A large brass knocker made of hollow wood boomed a gong din when Bastard shattered it against the steel paper door. He entered a tiny vestibule. When the door slid shut on its tracks, the 4th wall was complete. A panel featuring buttons for a series of numbers begged Bastard to press the 9 issue 3 times, and the little compartment became an elevator, ascending up in time. Chapter 27. Space is the place. Ding. As soon as Bastard exited the elevating room and entered the abbot's living space, he forgot the outside. That the outside existed. That anything was out there. Even though he had just been there. For he had come from somewhere out there, and it would probably resume when he returned to it. Entering the abbot's was like crossing the threshold into another universe, another reality. Obviously, it was the same reality, just a different universe. But until then, nothing existed except this. All is intentional, the Bastard smiled in greeting. That's crazy. There is nothing here. Indeed, there was nothing here but space in the place. These things, light, air, open, non-lines, openness, all was space, like there was nothing there. It looked like nothing. He saw nothing. Yep, the abbot proudly accepted. The High Lord's apartment / penthouse / entire floor / condo level was indescribably glamorous. There were no doors, nor walls for that matter. At least none that wasn't invisible, yet none that you couldn't walk through. They were just there for the appearance, as if they looked good, even though they didn't look. They were real walls and doors, though. They served the same function while being invisible, thereby maintaining a feeling of pure openness. It wasn't until the abbot gave Bastard the tour that I realized that indivisible and individual invisible panes extended from floor to ceiling around the entire level. Only the door to the apartment, which was also the door to the elevator, was not invisible. And yet, from the outside, the abbot's residence had appeared as a normal stone structure in the style of a 9th millennium Auslandian countryside chateau. "Nothing to see here," the abbot joked. "Check this out. Let's go to my office bar," he re-began. "You see, the glass is quite simply not glass. Nope. It is a new alloy that I've just recently come up with. It's more durable than anyone previously known to anything, and even more transparent than air. The other walls that you don't see, the interior walls, like this one we're coming up to right now." The abbot appeared to open a door and directed Bastard how to walk next. "This is constructed of another material." His flicking wrist made a knocking sound. "I'm still working on its tensility. I hope to make this invisible material more sound. Make it structurable for sustained stability. Those walls, that glass," he pointed to something that preceded the outside, "that shit is strong enough to serve as the support structure for a building 10 times taller." Why this mattered, Bastard could not fathom. What was the difference? After all, who could know exactly what the walls were made of if one couldn't see them? Also, it sounded like he was just making the same thing again in terms of final function. Bastard was confused. He asked his friend if he had anything to drink. Of course. That's why we're here, in my study," the abbot erupted with sincerity. He immediately proceeded to an invisible cabinet that was right before his face. When he moved his arm a certain way, Bastard could see a fully stocked bar. 3 actually visible, apparently wooden, shelves supported 3 rows of booze bottles. The abbot poured out 2 glasses and 4 bottles, then grabbed 4 glasses and 2 bottles, which he pulled into a giant organ, carefully combining some of each of the 6 liquors in an ice shaker. This he stirred with a long spoon-shaped piece of ice that proceeded to melt against the warmth of his cold fingertips. He strained the concoction into the cocktail glasses. During this process, the abbot relayed, "When I first had these new walls and furniture installed, I had post-it notes stuck to each and every piece of furniture. Bar, for example, or bed sheets, or beach, bathroom towels, bidet, bleach, or bananas. Everything in here that you can't see. Otherwise, I couldn't find a thing at all. After a few circles, though, I got used to it. Now I have the entire space and everything within it pre-memorized in my re-memory." He pulled out a pad of sticky papers from his back pants pocket, which was actually a sewed-on kangaroo pouch, wrote "shit here," there's a parenthetical H, shit, on it with the squid ink pen that he kept in the right breast pocket of his purple tuxedo shirt, and placed it a couple of feet above the floor, where it appeared to hover. "We are now in my study," the abbot refrained, moving around what I fairly assumed to be an invisible desk. He sat down on an invisible plane behind it. "Do sit down, Bastard. And mind the parenthetical H. I'm running low on post-it notes, and it can get ugly when one of my guests can't properly locate the shit station. It's a matter of conservation." Do you entertain a lot still then? Bastard asked. No, not at all. Bastard felt around with his hands, making out the contours of what sensed like a chair, until he was comfortable enough to sit down on something he could not see. He made himself as comfortable as he could with the aid of the majority of the drink, which, thankfully, he could see. He sighed and glanced around the room, seeing nearly nothing. When I was looking at your place, coming up, the whole facade looked like a castle. How? Oh, ha. Yes. Pretty amazing, right? Question mark. It's paint. Question mark. A new kind of paint. You can paint anything with this shit. And you can see through it if you're on the other side. Question mark. You see that elevator right there, yeah? Bastard nodded. That's 'cause it's painted. Same shit. But that's painted on both sides. The exterior walls here are only painted on the outside, so you can see through them. It looks like nothing is there when you're standing in here. This is my ultimate defense. When the next final war begins, if the enemies ever reach the base of my mountain here, I will dump all this paint thinner. The abbot pointed straight up, and the castle will disappear. I was gonna ask about that water tower. Yep, full of paint thinner. So I just pull that bit of string, tipple, topple, ipple, ito, and bong, I am gone. Except you yourself, my friend, will still be visible, right? Yes, the abbot exclaimed. And how much crazier is that? Anyone looking at the place will see that I'm floating 27 floors high. Dude, all of this is pretty fucking awesome and totally fascinating. But I gotta talk to you about some shit of immediate importance. Chapter 28. Bastard and the abbot talk about some immediately important shit. Yeah, the abbot acknowledged his pre-knowledge. I know that you know that I spoke with Miguel Evangelista already. That's why you're here, brother. M.E. said that Lance Newcomb done auctioned your name, bastard, as an expensive bullseye. And the underground has sights on you? That's why I'm here, my brother, Bastard began. Daniel Jodocy. Thank you, Oliver.